What is up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. This is UFC 269 Best Bet. And as always, we're going to give the best bet for each and every fight on this card. We do have 14 fights. Supposed to have 15, but we did lose the Perez Chanel. But yeah, this card's phenomenal. Usually there's one fight on the card where you go and maybe take a bathroom break, maybe go smoke cigarette, maybe go get a drink. But on this card, there's not one of those fights. I think every single fight is going to be awesome. So looking forward to it. Before we get into it, if you guys can please leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you have not already. We go live every fight day, 1 hour prior to the prelims. I am here, as always, with Uncle Weezy and Narco Cop. Uncle Weezy, you looking forward to this banger of a card?
You kidding me, man? I'm really, really looking forward to it. There are literally no bad fights on this card. They're all fantastic from top to bottom, nothing but bangers. Ready to talk bets on all 13 of fights. Or is it 14 now, or is it 13?
I think it's 14.
14. We still got 14, man. That's great that we only lost one, although I really wanted that Perez Chanel fight. I had a bet on it. It's unfortunate that that one's not happening, but, man, we got a great lineup. Can't wait to talk it up.
For sure. And Narco, are you looking forward to this card?
Hell yeah. After taking a beating last week, you're always looking to bounce back. So, yeah, I'm looking to bounce back here. One more event after this, and we're done for the year. So, yeah, man, this is probably – the best card remaining, obviously. And, yeah, great card and looking to have a bunch of bets. So,
yep, let's hopefully kill it this week. Doing a shout out the chat before we get started. Jason, first one in the chat. Travis in the chat as well. Looks like a lot of people are on the Zombie Girl. Can't wait to talk about that fight. Craddy's Cards, War Dog. We have Chase in the chat as well. Gold Caps, Daz. We have a Chris in the chat. Who else we got in here? K9, Ken, Davey, Ian, John Jones, Cellmate. Love that username. We have Adam, Colin. Who else we got in here? Path to Victory, Titus, Marshall. Click to continue. Chris, About Better. Who else we got? Bimmer. Appreciate you all hanging out. PSSA saying shave that ass. Hopefully we shave the bookie's ass today. But I say we get started. And let's start with the very first fight of the night. And we're going to kick it off with a banger. We have Jillian Robertson going against Priscilla Cachoeira, a.k.a. Priscilla Catch a Beating, a.k.a. Priscilla Catch a Cheating because she missed weight by 3 pounds. We'll kick this off to Uncle Weezy. Uncle Weezy, what is your best bet for this first fight of the night?
My best bet is that Priscilla Catch a Cheating is the best damn name that I've heard in so long. Oh, my God, that's great. I don't have a bet on this fight. And obviously the weight miss is very concerning when Jillian Robertson's path to victory is to wrestle this lady and keep her down for as close to 15 minutes as humanly possible if she doesn't wind up getting a submission here. So I do believe that even with Cachoeira missing weight and her being bigger, what I'm seeing in the numbers for this fight is that there's a really high probability that Jillian's going to be able to take her down and keep her down for 3 rounds. So I'm figuring Jillian Robertson money line is just a really nice parlay piece. I don't want to mess around with goes to decision or inside the distance here because Priscilla is so durable, so tough. There's no quit in her. I could see her not tapping even if she got her arm broken in an arm bar, So this fight is probably, I think it could go to decision, but I wouldn't be willing to bet it because the levels of these two ladies on the ground are so different, and Jillian is so dominant there that I really believe just using that money line for a parlay piece is about as safe as it gets.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. And it looks like some money is coming in on Priscilla Catching Advantage, and she's now minus 355. She was minus 400 like all week, but as of late, money is coming in on Priscilla there. And yeah, I mean, I bet Robertson in a parlay about a week ago. But yeah, that weight advantage does scare me off just a little bit because Priscilla Catch a Beating was already going to be like a couple inches taller. She was going to have a reach advantage already. And now that she came in with an extra weight advantage, it does scare me a bit. But yeah, I think the most likely scenario is Robertson does get this fight down to the mat and submit Cachoeira. Her grappling is very, very questionable, getting out-grappled by fighters like Molly McCann, Luana Carolina, Gina Mazzani. And I just think Robertson is, the much better fighter out of all those fighters in terms of the grappling especially. But I'm going to go with the fight doesn't go to decision, minus 185. I think it covers both sides here. I think, like I said, Robertson by submission is probably the most likely outcome. But if, Catch a Cheating uses her advantage with the weight, is able to keep it on the feet, maybe Cachoeira can, finish Robertson with a knockout because we know that Cachoeira does hit very hard. So I'm going to take the fight doesn't go, cover both sides. And like I said, I was more confident on Robertson earlier in the week, but now with that weight advantage, it does scare me off a tad. But I really do think Robertson should win this fight. Narco Cop, how about you? What prop are you looking at, or money line here?
Well, I'm looking at Priscilla give a beating
Hey.
at plus 700 by KO because the one thing she has is a lot of power on the feet. She has a lot of knockouts for women's MMA at 125 pounder. I mean, last two have been by knockout. I think she has like 6 knockouts in her career of her 10 wins. So, at 60%, and you're getting plus 700 here against a girl in Robertson who kind of looked very shady last fight against Maverick on the feet. So if Cachoeira can, and also I do want to mention that weight miss. I think she purposely, honestly, did that.
Yeah.
She knows what Robertson's going to do. That's going to give her advantage. I know she's going to have a weight advantage here, which, it's going to make Robertson work that much harder to get the takedowns. And the one thing Cachoeira is very tough. So yeah, man, if she can get this fight on the feet for long periods of times, I think she can knock out Jillian Robertson. So getting, I have a bet at plus 800. Currently you can get it at plus 700 on Bet Rivers, but yeah, that's what I like for this fight, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I'm with you there. I saw the weigh-ins, and yeah, it did not look like Priscilla even tried to cut down the weight. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, great fight to start off the card. I could not wait for that fight. I like fighters. I like both these fighters a ton. So looking forward to see what happens there. Next fight in the card, we have Randy Costa going against Tony Kelly. Should be a very fun and exciting fight here. We'll start with you, Narco Cop. What bet are you liking for this one here?
So this one's a little weird for me because I have a couple of bets on Tony Kelly round 2, round 3, plus 1,100, plus 1,800. But what I would recommend for this fight, honestly, is live bet Tony Kelly after round 1, because I think you're going to get a much better price. And then you get to see or gauge how Costa, what kind of gas tank he used in that first round. Because the guy, not that his gas tank is bad, he just does not know how to slow down, man. He's throwing everything with power. Over 100 strikes thrown in one round against Yanez. You're going to gas out. I don't care who you are, especially when you're throwing everything with power. He throws kicks with power, punches with power. His jab is even thrown with a lot of power. So Tony Kelly's tough. Tony Kelly is pretty durable. So if he can get out of that first round, I think the live bet is really good here because I think you're going to get 300-400 range on Tony Kelly after round 1.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to go about it there. The live betting situation where we know that whenever Costa has seen the second round, he has folded both times. I actually really like the under 2.5 rounds. If you guys can get it like around the minus 165, I see it like minus 155 on some books as well. I think it covers both sides. Costa, I think he's very live for an early finish. I know Tony Kelly's never been finished, but he's never fought somebody as dangerous as Randy Costa. Both of his losses against Al-Kaizi and then also against Kai Kamaka, both are very, guys that aren't going to, hit very hard like a Costa here. So I think Costa probably finishes him early, but if not, like I said, every time we have seen Costa find the second round, he got submitted by Brandon Davis. He got knocked out as well in the second round. So I think under 2.5 rounds is probably the best way to go. Minus 165. I actually really like that line. Uncle Weezy, how about you? What is your best bet for this fight?
Yeah, I don't have a bet on this fight. This one's kind of weird for me because we got, Randy Costa is so young in his career. I mean, he came into the UFC, I believe, at 4-0 or 5-0 or something like that. So he's very young, and now he's training at Sanford. We got to be expecting of improvements from him. Whether it's learning how to pace himself a little bit better, which is something that we haven't seen yet, or whether it's really kind of cleaning up the striking even more and making himself more dangerous. But the thing is that Narco Cop brought up, I mean, like Kelly is pretty durable. He's never been finished. So my look for this fight is because I don't think I can bet the fight doesn't go to decision at minus 250 right now because, Kelly is really good on the feet as well. He moves very well. He kind of has an awkward movement. He's not going to just stand in front of Costa. So I actually like over 1.5 rounds on this fight. You can actually get it at minus 125. I mean, the percentage of fights that go over 7.5 in this division are very high. And we do know that Costa is a great finisher, but you have to imagine with what we've seen from Costa, even the most casual mixed martial arts fan can see that this guy is, balls out for 5 full minutes and then it's over. And you got to believe that if he's making improvements at Sanford, one of them has to be that he's learning to pace himself. He's learning to pace that output. He's learning not to throw everything into every strike. And if that's the case, I think over 1.5, if he learns to pace himself and learn how to fight for 3 rounds, is a really safe bet here, because Kelly's never been finished. He moves very well, and he's an excellent Muay Thai kickboxer in his own right. So I think he can hang with Costa on the feet, actually. So over 1.5 minus 135, but I see it on one of the books that I don't have at minus 125. It's not bad.
Yeah,
That's what I'd be looking at.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I agree. If Costa comes out here and decides to pace himself, which would be smart, but yeah, like it's something he's never done before. So we'll have to see. But yeah, over 1.5. I think if Costa does come out here and fight smart, I think it does go over pretty comfortably. We'll keep moving on to the next fight, though. Before we do, we have a dono. Walter with the $2 dono. Home run parlay, Zombie, Wright, and Munoz. That's probably some really good odds. So we'll see if that hits. Walter, shout out to you for the dono there. All right. Steve's saying, no thanks, I'll keep my money. There you go. We'll see what happens there. But next fight, we have another banger. Ryan Hall going against Derrick Minner. We'll start with you, Wheezy. What bet are you liking for this one?
Okay, I don't have a bet on this fight, and I think Ryan Hall wins this fight. But I'm going to go the other direction and give you something that kind of sticks out to me right now. Derrick Minner by submission is plus 1,100, okay? And let me just give you a purely mathematical argument to why there's value in plus 1,100 for Derrick Minner, all right? At Minner's current line, he has a 37% implied probability of winning this fight. But Minner has finished 85% of his pro wins, and there are 26 pro wins by submission. This fight is going to the ground, okay? And at that implied probability, the chance of a submission according to Minner's win distribution is almost 32%. That would be like plus 205 on the money line. And you're getting plus 1,100 for the submission prop here, which is that implied probability is almost a third. Now, we know that Hall is a fantastic jiu-jitsu player, that, he's really top of the food chain when it comes to this division in terms of being dangerous in the 50-50 positions and stuff. But, it's jiu-jitsu. Anything can happen. And Minner's got 22 subs in his career. So I think at plus 1,100, even if you're on the Hall side, it's a great hedge. Anybody can slip on a banana peel. It happens all the time. Shit, Leonardo Santos got subbed last week by Clay Guida, a guy who had been submitted 10 times in his professional career. I don't have to tell you guys what happened to Rodolfo Vieira when he went up against Alexander Hernandez. So, anything can happen. But when you think of Derrick Minner, 85% of his pro wins by submission, and you're getting plus 1,100 on the sub prop, it's worth, you could do 1/10 of a unit. You'll win 1.1 if this happens. So why not? Take a shot. Let's have some fun this week.
Yeah, that's funny. I knew for a fact, once you brought up Minner by submission, that you're going to bring up Leonardo Santos. And yeah, you brought up Rodolfo Vieira. We saw with Jacare Souza, all these, great grapplers who we thought would never get submitted are getting submitted this year. So I think that's very interesting and definitely a hot take, Weezy, there. I'll be looking out for that one. Yeah, plus 1,100, that's very interesting. But for me, I'm going to go with the under 2.5 rounds, kind of like the last fight. Minner is this guy that is a kill or be killed fighter. I think he's been to decision like 3 times, and the guy has like nearly 30 fights. He is a finish or be finished fighter. He's been finished 11 times. I think 8 are by submission there. And I think, he has potential to get out Ryan Hall early, but if he does not, I think he does slow down like always. And I think he gets finished himself. So the under is minus 170. I think that's solid. But yeah, fight doesn't go to decision, minus 185. I really do think somebody's getting finished here. And I was watching a show last night with James Krause, and I forget what the show is called, but it's a betting show with James Krause and James Lynch. And they were talking about this fight, and we know that James Krause is going to be in the corner of Derrick Minner, and he was talking about his best bet for this fight. He was like under 2.5, and I love to hear that as the coach of Derrick Minner there. So yeah, I'm going with that. Fight doesn't go to decision, minus 185. I think someone gets finished here. Narco, how about you? What is your best bet for this fight?
So I'm going to give you guys another nugget that kind of goes off Uncle Weezy a little bit. Derrick Minner has 26 wins. Derrick Minner has won 21 of them in the first round, guys, and he's plus 900. this guy is balls to the
That's
walls
crazy.
in the first round. It is what it is, man. This guy goes crazy. He's finished much better guys than Ryan Hall in the first round. You're getting plus 900, plus 700, those lines are way off to me because this guy finished 21 out of his 26 wins in the first round. And you're getting this insane number. And to me, Ryan Hall, honestly, when you throw a ton of volume and pressure him, I kind of think this guy is going to fold, dude. And I don't think this is a bad spot whatsoever. I just think Minner knows one way, and that's going forward and going crazy, whether he gets, heel hooked or whatever. But I think he might be able to put it on Ryan Hall early. And I do think he's the better striker, even though he's pretty shitty at striking. But I think he's better than Ryan Hall.
Dude, that's nuts. Plus 900 for Minner and to win in round one. You think that would be more correlated towards the money line of Derrick Minner? Because like you said, when he wins, it's in the first round. So yeah, I think that's a very sneaky way to attack it. PSSA with the donut. Shout out to PSA 31. Do we know which fight Keith Peterson is over? I think they should have like who's reffing what posted. So if one of you guys want to go check that out and post in the chat, I'll bring it up. But I think that should be available as of now. But
and check it out. If any of you guys are out in Vegas, just go to whatever bar is closest to the Apex right now. You'll find Keith Peterson there, and then you can ask him which fights he's reffing.
Yeah, go to your nearest liquor store, bar. Keith Peterson will definitely be there. But we'll move on to the next fight. And we have Aaron Blanchfield going against Miranda Maverick. I'll kind of kick this one off. I think this is a very tough fight to call. I see people really confident one way or another. For me, I do side with Blanchfield, but ever so slightly. I have seen Maverick taken down. I have seen her stuck on her back. I think the striking is going to be competitive. I think Blanchfield, if she can't get on top, maybe she can ride out, a couple of minutes on top there. But this line kind of does stick out to me. I think it's a close fight. I think it's going to decision. You see Maverick by decision plus 125, but Blanchfield by decision plus 215. I actually think that's a pretty solid price. I'm going to go Blanchfield by decision. I think it's going to be very, very close, but I think she's going to slightly get it done here. So plus 215 there. Wheezy, how about you? What are you liking for this fight?
So I like the fight goes to decision for this fight. I did a balls deep breakdown of this fight on my channel earlier this week, and I did a bunch of research. I would literally watch all the tape available on both of these ladies, and I'm really impressed with both of them. I think at this point, Maverick's striking is probably a little bit better, and I think that they're pretty much almost as evenly matched as you can get on the ground. Maverick's, a little bit more experienced, and she's fought a little bit better competition, but both of these young ladies are blue chip prospects who were fighting really good female fighters from literally day one. I think Blanchfield's second fight in her career was Kay Hansen. And if you go back and you look at even Maverick's pre-UFC career, she's fighting Deanna Bennett. She's fighting a bunch of girls, Brogan Sanchez, a bunch of girls that are really good and have great records on the regional scene, and a few that have already went on or already fought in the UFC. So, this is a prospect matchup. I think that they're going to be able to nullify a lot of what each other does well. And I see this fight hitting the scorecards, but it's minus 260. So the bookies are a little bit all over it, but it's a good parlay piece for me. I think they're so well matched. It's really hard to picture either one getting a finish.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think that's a great parlay piece there, minus 260. If there was a finish, I don't know, I just don't see it. So yeah, I think that's solid there. Appreciate you, Gus, for the super sticker $2.99. Thank you for hanging out and donating there. Narco Cop, how about you? What do you like for this fight?
I think I agree with what you said, Brady. It's a close fight, man. I know a lot of people are, for the most part, on Blanchfield, I think, over Maverick here. But, man, I take into account strength in women's MMA, and I think Miranda Maverick is a stronger girl here. But there's a line that kind of sticks out, and I guess it's a little sneaky. It's Blanchfield by submission plus 1,600. She just recently earned her black belt in July, I think, and this girl's won some pretty good tournaments. Overall, when she was a purple belt, I believe she won a tournament. The girl's really good on the ground. She has that good body lock takedown, and honestly, Maverick makes some mistakes while she's on the ground. So, if she makes a mistake here, gives up her back or something, getting 1,600 is a huge price here. And looking at Miranda Maverick's submission line, it's in a 600-700 range. I think that's off. Like, I don't know why Blanchfield's 1,600. So, plus 1,600 is a big line here. So, I don't mind, splashing something on that sub prop.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. Plus 1,600, and I do think those lines should probably be flipped. I do think Blanchfield is the better pure grappler. So yeah, that's very interesting, and it does definitely stick out. We'll see what happens on that one. But we will keep moving on. We have Andre Meneze going against Eric Anders, and I'll kick this one off. I really struggled with this fight, and I was looking to bet Eric Anders earlier in the week, and he was sitting at like plus 110, and now he's plus 160, and I'm so tempted. But after I looked into it, Menese's wrestling is a lot better than I initially thought it was, because you go back and watch some of his fights, like against Antonio Hoyo. He's gassing out very early. He's shooting very sloppy takedowns, but I was really impressed with what I saw in the Jacare Souza fight. He was able to time some really good takedowns there. And if he is able to get this fight down to the mat in any type of way, I think he's very live for a submission. But, Eric Anders has very good takedown defense. He's going to have the striking advantage. He's probably going to have the cardio advantage. Such a close, tough fight, and money's just pouring in to Andre Meneze. I guess one prop that did stick out to me is going to be Eric Anders by KO plus 330. The reason being is Meneze, whenever he loses, it's by knockout. He's never lost a decision. He's never lost by submission. He has 4 losses, all by knockout. Eric Anders, I believe he has 3 or 4 knockouts in the UFC. He does hit very hard. I'm going to go Eric Anders by knockout plus 330. I didn't have enough confidence to officially pull the trigger, but if I was to bet on something on this fight, it probably would be that Eric Anders by KO at plus 330. I think it's a pretty solid line there. Narco Cop, how about you? What are you liking for this fight?
Yeah, actually, give me Anders at plus 160, the money line. I just think there's a huge athleticism advantage here, a strength advantage here. And, Munoz, even though he gets takedowns, he's pretty sloppy, man. He lost position twice against Arroyo. He took down Jacare, but, man, Jacare it's his athleticism, everything is gone, man. The guy is too old. I don't value Munoz's wrestling. I think Anders easily stuffs him. And if he is to take Anders down, Anders shown some great ability to get back up. The guy just doesn't stay on his back whatsoever. I think he's a brown belt himself, so he knows what he's doing on the ground. I'm not really afraid if Munoz takes this guy down. I don't even think he's going to be able to take this guy down. And then you got all these other intangibles, right? I believe he has the better cardio. He's the better striker. I just think Munoz is live early on. After that, he's pretty much screwed, I think, because he's going to get tired. It's going to be much harder for him to get takedowns, and it's going to be Anders on the feet. So plus 160, I think, is a really good line. Maybe you even wait and let these guys steam Munoz. And I think the steam is basically coming from his last submission win against Jacare. It just looks so good. He submitted, a world champion, a guy that's, no one ever thought would get submitted. But also the guy is over the hill. So people seem to forget that. So I'm not going to say I love Anders because his volume worries me. But at plus 160, I think it's the right play here.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, a lot of things about Anders worries me, like, his fight IQ, the volume, like you mentioned at times, but I just don't really understand this line. So yeah, I think that's a good point there. I think I might wait up until the fight is about to happen. And if I can get Anders like at plus 185, even plus 190, I would, have no problem with jumping on. So it's something I'm going to be keeping my eye on throughout the night. I want to see how wide that line does get, because nothing but Munoz love coming in, and a lot of it as well. Like I said, Eric Anders at some point was like, plus 115, plus 113 just a few days ago. So yeah, plus 160 now. Wheezy, curious to hear your thoughts on this fight here.
That line movement's nuts, man. That's a ton of money coming in on Munoz. And then click back on there, Brady, to show the line movement. Look where that thing opened. I think opened plus 105 for Anders.
Yeah.
So the bookies are opening that based on the analytics, based on the data that they have. And, and those guys are pretty good. Vegas does pretty good. They got a lot of big buildings there that were built with your bad bet money. And so, they know some things. So when I see a big line movement like that, it can go. Absolutely. It can be the analytics are in favor of you on the Anders bet. And then it could be that some people know something. Maybe one of these guys feels like shit. Maybe one of these guys is feeling great. I don't know. But when I see a line movement like that, and I still see things in the statistics at plus 160, I can't really look away from that Anders money line. As much as I like Munoz's grappling, Anders, in the very fat sample size that we have for him in the UFC, has only been controlled for 7% of his UFC cage time. So if he stays true to that number, you got to believe he wins this fight more than 70% of the time. So, at plus 160, I just can't ignore it. Yeah, Munoz's ground game is absolutely next level. And if you have money on Anders and Munoz successfully completes a takedown, you're going to be chewing on your nails and you're going to be very nervous. But, Anders is such a good athlete, that maybe he can get back up. And if he stops a couple of takedowns, you're going to see that gas tank of Munoz really go quickly. And at plus 160, I just can't ignore it. That would be my best bet for this fight, the Eric Anders money line.
Yep, looks like we're all on the same page there. We'll see what happens. I was close to pulling the trigger, but I have not yet. But yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on that line, and I might live bet it there. So move on to the next fight. This is personally my favorite fight of the night. I know a lot of people are looking forward to this fight. I love both guys, especially Jordan Wright. This is a guy that I know a lot of people crap on him. I know I've crapped on him a ton throughout the past couple of years, 2 years here. And, he's kind of grown on me a little bit. I counted this guy out against Jamie Pickett, and he went out there and he starched him. And, this guy, he may not look like it, but he's a killer. And both of these guys are a killer. So I think it's going to be a very fun fight as long as it lasts. I personally don't see it lasting long, but really curious to hear both your guys' best bet for this fight. And let's start with Narco. What is your best bet for this fight here?
Yeah, as we spoke earlier before the podcast, I have a really big bet on fight doesn't start round 3 at minus 182, and that's gone now. But what I will say is I think there's an ass shaving that's going to go on here, and it's going to be Silva. But I am going to give you a best bet because that's what we were here for. And I think round 1 for Jordan Wright at plus 750, he's got 11 out of 12 wins in round 1, man. This guy, and Silva leaves himself open to get countered like fucking crazy. So this guy, the one thing he does have is power. He's explosive and he has a lot of power. And like I said, 11 of 12 wins are in the first round. You're getting plus 750 in a fight that I think is just going to be wild in that first round. So there's high variance in on both sides. And you're getting, plus 750 as opposed to Silva being minus, 110, plus 175. I mean, this guy's live for a first round, knockout, honestly. So plus 750 is the play, but I do think Silva shaves that ass this week.
There you go. Yeah, plus 750. Me and Weezy were talking about it a couple days ago. They opened up right by KO in the first round at like plus 1250, plus 1300. I just think that's nuts. I think that's how he wins. But Weezy, how about you? What do you like him for this fight?
So, you guys know that this is my ass shaving of the week. I think this is Bruno Silva all day. Jordan Wright's a great hammer, but he's even as good of a hammer as he's a worse nail. The striking stats on both of these guys are really impressive on the offensive side. But then when you look on the defensive side, my God, are they god awful. Jordan Wright's striking defense is 39% and Bruno Silva's is 37%. But Jordan Wright has been knocked down so many times in his 2 losses that it's ridiculous. The guy's getting knocked down on almost 5% of the significant strikes that he absorbs. And this guy Silva not only has had a ton of knockouts in his career, but he's a former steroid user. He was destroying Russians in Russia, like good ones, Shlemenko and Frolov. These guys are killers. So, Jordan Wright... I can't believe he even showed up for this fight, dude. This is Wright's going to die in there. Silva by ass shaving. Silva inside the distance, minus 195. Best bet of the week.
Sounds good. I totally agree. I think Silva's going to finish right in the first round, but I'm going to cover both sides here. So I'm with you. I think all 3 of us bet the fight won't start round 3. That is now minus 340, which that's crazy. And we see the fight doesn't go decision on some books, minus 600, minus 650. I'm going to take the under 1.5 rounds, and I see it at minus 170, minus 159 here. And, I typically don't like betting under 1.5 rounds unless it's like a Paul Craig fight or, an Antigulov fight. But, Jordan Wright has never seen the over 1.5 round mark in any of his fights, win or loss. He's been to the second round once. I think he's been finished and got a finish in the first minute of the second round each time. Obviously, he's never seen the third round, never seen a decision as well. And, Bruno Silva, this guy has a ton of power, 18 knockout wins, and you brought it up, Wheezy. Both guys are very, very dangerous. Both guys have a ton of power, but both guys are very, very hittable. I think someone goes to sleep here probably within the first couple minutes. If it gets to the second round, I would be very, very surprised with these two going at it. But under 1.5 rounds. I typically don't like under 1.5, but I think this is a fight where it does have a solid chance of hitting, especially when you're getting the fight doesn't go decision like minus 650. So yeah, my favorite fight of the night personally. I'm looking forward to this one quite a bit. But we will keep moving on to the next fight, and we have Augusto Sakai going against Tai Tuivasa. We will start with you, Wheezy. What do you like for this fight here?
Okay, I really have a very little of a read on this fight, and I have no idea who wins here. It feels like a really high variance, heavyweight, 1-800 gambler type of fight for me. But the finish rates for these guys, for and against, are very impressive, and the fight doesn't go to decision. It isn't overpriced compared to those metrics, I'd say. Like, it's minus 190 right now. You could get fight doesn't go to decision at for Tuivasa Sakai. And if you look at the finish rates for both these guys, for and against, Tuivasa's got something like a 92% finish rate, all by knockout. You got Sakai with a 73% finish rate, all by knockout. And then when you look at the losses, Sakai's been knocked out in 2 out of his 3 pro losses. Tuivasa's been subbed once in 1 of his 3 losses, and he's been of his 3 losses. So combined 66% finish rate for these guys. And then in the wins, I mean, it's like 11 and 12. So 23 out of 27 have finished inside the distance. So at minus 190, there's some value there. There's some meat on the bone there. That'd be the safest bet for me.
Yeah, that's nuts, right? Minus 190, huh? But there is a couple things I wanted to bring up in the chat. Let's see. There it is. I saw someone on Reddit post said Anders' knee is messed up. I hit it hard. Maybe that's why the line's moving, because somebody in our Discord, Wheezy, said that they had some inside information. Could that be it, maybe?
It has to be, because this line movement is ridiculous, and you really only see it when somebody knows something, and it's happening very close to fight time. So that's another indicator that people with information that has just come out recently. I mean, because you know, at this point, there's a lot of money on both sides. So when the market is thin, when it first opens, that's when you're most likely to see big line movements, because the liquidity isn't there. Everybody isn't in the pool yet. But now we're at a point where just a few hours before fight time, we've got literally probably 90% of the bets. That means that there's already a lot of money on both sides, and the market is fairly established. So when we see the kind of line movement that we've seen over the last few hours in this fight, it tells me that somebody out there is putting their money where their mouth is, because they know something that the rest of us don't. And it is alarming. And I don't have a bet on that Anders fight. When you see the line keep moving like this, it feels like somebody knows something.
Yeah, it's weird. And as we've seen, narratives can really push a line. Like we saw the Jeff Neal line with Ponzinio. Like narratives can really push it. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, that's something to take note of. If Pena wins, will you guys do a shoey? I will most definitely do a shoey if Pena pulls off the upset. But Narco, back to this fight here. What are you looking at for Sakai Tuivasa?
So I have a bet on Sakai at minus 105. You can get him now at plus 100. There's been some like late movement on Tuivasa. I just think Sakai is first of all, he's the longer guy, the taller guy, manages distance much better. It's a bigger ring. There's a lot of things going in his favor. I think he puts out a lot more volume. Tuivasa is basically looking for that, knockout. And, even though Sakai, he got knocked out in his last fight against Rosenstruck, lost at the end over there against Overeem, but man, he was winning that fight handily. And then he got stopped in that 5th round. So I think Sakai has fought the better opposition, has the better wins. I mean, Tuivasa's wins, even last fight against Greg Hardy. I mean, you saw that, Greg Hardy overhand right literally wobbled the shit out of Tuivasa. And then Greg Hardy went in for the kill, and he got countered by a left hook and just got knocked out. So for me, I just think Sakai is the better fighter. That plain and simple. Like the guy manages distance better, is a better striker, is cleaner. The only thing Tuivasa has going for him is the power, and he has those vicious leg kicks. But again, Sakai manages distance really well, is a longer fighter, is going to use his jab, and I think that's going to be effective in this fight. And getting a, I don't understand why it's even money or even at minus 120 Tuivasa. I have it more at like 160, 170 range for Sakai.
I can tell you exactly why it's where it's at, Narco. There's hype on Tuivasa. People love the shoeies, and that's why a lot of people like this guy. But yeah, I totally agree. You take a look at their last 3 fights between both of them. We see that Tuivasa is knocking out guys like Harry Hunsucker, Greg Hardy, Stefan Struve, where Sakai is fighting very good guys, Rosenstruck, Overeem, guys like that. So I think as of late, the level of competition definitely goes to Sakai. And I think he has more ways to win. Like, I think Tai Tuivasa, if he wins, it's probably in the first round. We said he's finished every single one but one of his fights in the UFC by first round knockout. But I kind of think this does get extended. I am on Sakai as well in terms of a pick, but I kind of like the over 1.5 rounds. It is a little chalky, especially for heavyweight here, but I think this does get into it. I think it gets extended to the second round, late third. And I think I think Sakai puts out Tai Tuivasa late. So yeah, minus 160, over 1.5. That's kind of where I'm looking. But I think all 3 of our plays are pretty interesting. I like all of them. I mean, minus 190 even for the fight doesn't go to decision. I think that is very intriguing. And it's minus 160 on 5. And I was like, that's nuts for a heavyweight fight. I think it does finish eventually, but I think it kind of finishes later in the fight. We'll keep moving on, though. We have Pedro Munoz going against Dominic Cruz. A couple more prelims here till we get on the main card. We'll start with you, Weezy. What are you liking for this fight?
Yeah, so I do have a bet on this fight, and it's one that Brady brought to my attention because I was driving down to Indianapolis yesterday and I missed it. But he said that DraftKings opened the finish only line for Cruz Munoz at minus 150 Munoz. Now it moved immediately to minus 200. I was looking to make that bet earlier in the week at minus 260 on Bet Online, and it's because I don't think anybody in the bantamweight division is going to be finishing Pedro Munoz like ever. The dude has got a legendary chin, absolutely legendary. You'd need a shovel to knock this guy out. So, and Dominic Cruz has got a 34% career finish rate. I mean, that's extremely low. I dare you to find me men's fighters, not named maybe Kai Kamaka, who have that low of a finish rate, especially for somebody who's had as prolific of a career as Dominic Cruz has. And even Cruz is very good defensively. So I believe that the fight goes to decision at minus 186 on FanDuel right now is an excellent, excellent bet. So either fight goes to decision, and then you could even hedge that bet with the finish only prop for Pedro Munoz at minus 200, because I think if anybody gets a finish in this fight, it's going to be Munoz. I don't see Cruz finishing Munoz.
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I did. I put 2 units on the fight goes to decision minus 168. It's down minus 186. I still like that. But on DraftKings Sportsbook, yeah, like you said, Pedro Munoz, scorecards equals no action, finish money line only, minus 200. It just seems so off. Like, I think that's one of the worstly priced lines of the entire week. Like you said, Dominic Cruz, about a 30% finish rate. Munoz, very, very tough, never been finished, 6 decision losses. So yeah, my best bet's probably the Munoz scorecards equals no action, minus 200 DraftKings Sportsbook. I think that line is nuts, actually. Narco Cop, how about you? What do you like for this fight?
Yeah, I'm on the same boat with you guys. This minus 186 fight goes to the decision is insanely low. I think this fight goes to decision a high percentage of the time, and I got a pretty big bet on it. Like you guys mentioned, if anybody's finishing, it's Munoz. And the one concern here of a finish is gonna come mainly if it happens from those leg kicks, man. Munoz leg kicks are insanely hard, insanely strong. The guy's a vicious leg kicker. And we know one thing that Dominic Cruz is weak is his knees. I mean, his knees are destroyed. And, that's the only thing that worries me as far as this fight not going to decision. Because other than that, both guys are extremely durable. Both guys have great chins. I mean, they both can grapple really, really well. So I don't see anyone subbing the other. So, this fight goes to decision. Just feels so right here at minus 186, honestly.
Yeah, so definitely looks like we're all on the same page there. If Dominic Cruz wins inside the distance today, I'm going to be out a lot of money. So hopefully nothing crazy happens there. We'll keep moving on, though. We have one more prelim till we get to the main card. We have Josh Emmett going against Dan Ige. We'll start with you, Uncle Weezy. What is your best bet for this prelim fight here?
This is another one that I did a balls deep breakdown on my channel for. And, I like both of these fighters quite a bit. But that being said, I do like Emmett quite a bit in this spot. His power numbers are next level, you guys. 10 career UFC knockdowns. Despite being so powerful, he actually still lands more significant strikes per minute than he absorbs. And that's one thing you see almost uniformly amongst the top 20 power punchers in the UFC, no matter the division. They actually absorb more strikes per minute than they land, because everything that they throw is with so much power, they can only throw so much volume. So you see this in fighters like Derrick Lewis. He's getting outpointed until he lands the big shot. But with Josh Emmett, this guy actually has the ability to win the minutes that are in between the big shots that he's landing. You add in the great offensive and defensive wrestling that Emmett has. He's spent such a small part on his back. Let me get that number for you guys here. So Josh Emmett has only been controlled for 3.88% of his UFC career, you guys. So he spends very little time on his back. When he does get taken down, he gets right back up, and nobody's really doing any work on him on the ground. So if he's able to stay off of his back for 95% of the fight, that's 95% of the fight. You're going to be dealing with those bombs coming your way. Ige is very, very tough, though. I don't think he's ever been knocked out. So both of these guys have really good chins, are very durable. But I do like Josh Emmett quite a bit in this spot. I'm going to say the Josh Emmett money line, which is sitting right now at I don't have it in my notes.
Like minus 140 around there.
Yeah, minus 140, minus 141 on Bet Online. I have access to. I like that bet. That's a good one.
Yeah, I'm going to say the same thing. I like Josh Emmett here at the money line. Yeah, money's been pouring in on Dan Ige. Remember, like last week, he was like plus 190, plus 185. But yeah, I think you mentioned a bunch of great points. I did want to see Josh Emmett on the scale. He's coming off of a multiple injuries, coming off of a big layoff, but I thought he looked pretty good. And like you said, I think the power is going to be the difference in this fight. I think in terms of the numbers and the volume, I think it'll be very close and competitive. But I think Josh Emmett's going to be landing the harder shots. Maybe he's able to knock down Ige here or there. But yeah, I'm going to take the Josh Emmett money line minus 141. Narco, how about you? Are you on the Emmett side? Are you looking at a Proppy, or are you on Ige?
So initially, when pre-tape, I was thinking I was going to bet Ige here. But man, that fucking fight with Josh Emmett against Shane Burgos on one leg for 3 rounds, knocking Burgos down twice, hurting him in that 3rd round. I mean, that was an impressive feat. I mean, talk about toughness, man. This guy had his whole leg torn, his MCL, his ACL, and he was literally fighting on one leg and still bringing the power. So, the one thing with Ige is he's extremely tough, but he's hittable. He's been hurt multiple times in his career, and he's never, ever faced a striker or as powerful as Josh Emmett. And, to me, the KO line just sticks out, man. Plus 280 for a guy that hits as hard as Josh Emmett. And Ige is a guy that likes to bite down on that mouthpiece and trade at times. And I think this is a huge mistake in this spot if he's going to bite down and try to trade with Josh Emmett here. So Emmett plus 280 by KO, I think is a really, really good prop here.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't shock me. Ige's never been knocked out, but he's never fought somebody that hits as hard as Josh Emmett. I mean, Emmett's power numbers are ridiculous. In the last 6 fights, 10 knockdowns. That's unheard of. So yeah, give me Josh Emmett. Looks like we're all on the same page there. So we're going to go to the main card here. Before we do, so if y'all can please smash that like button. We have 524 of you in here. Thank you for hanging out. Also subscribe as well. We go live every week, 1 hour prior to the prelims. Give me our best bet here. Sean O'Malley, we're only on Paiva. We'll start with you, Weezy. What are you liking for this fight?
All right, let me get to my notes, you guys. I was just putting in bets. I'm way behind this week. I don't have a bet on Paiva O'Malley. I think it's a great stylistic matchup for Sean O'Malley, though, which is a surprise because they've given him so many tough tests so far. But I can't really bet him at this current line. Fight doesn't go to decision, though, at minus 150. Feels like a really safe bet to me. It covers both sides' path to victory here. I think, like, if Paiva wins, it's going to be because he kicks those chicken legs of O'Malley and breaks those legs, like have happened twice before. And 4 out of the 5 combined career losses of these guys have finished inside the distance. So I feel like at minus 150 that the fight doesn't go isn't really juiced enough at this point. So I think that's the best bet.
Yep, I'm gonna go with Sean O'Malley money line as like a parlay piece, minus 330. Yeah, I think it's a solid matchup for him as well. Just not completely impressed with Paiva. You know, he has like a 27% takedown accuracy. I think if this is on the feet, it's going to be O'Malley all day. The reach advantage, the height advantage. Paiva very, very hittable. Paiva has a negative significant strike differential against some very questionable competition. I think it's a good spot for O'Malley here. I think he gets this win probably by knockout, but I could see a decision as well. So I'm going to say O'Malley as a parlay piece here, minus 330, minus 290. Narco Cop, how about you? What do you like for this fight?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you guys. I think Sean O'Malley probably cruises here, but I like fight goes to decision plus money plus 134 because Paiva is extremely tough, durable dude. O'Malley for me, he has a lot of volume and he's a great striker. I just don't think he sits down on his punches a lot, so he doesn't throw with a lot of power, in my opinion. I think he just kind of like bounces people's heads with his fist too many times and then just knocks them out that way. But as far as one punch power, I don't think he's the type of guy that has the one punch power. So Paiva is extremely durable. Like I said, he's got 24 fights. I think he's only been KO'd, or actually never been KO'd. It was a cut stoppage. So the fight goes to decision plus 134. I don't think Paiva's stopping O'Malley either. So I think that's a pretty good line there.
Yeah, makes sense. I mean, O'Malley was like, what, a couple seconds away from not finishing Chris Moutinho. Shout out to Herb Dean. Saved me a lot of money that night. But yeah, I could see it. We'll keep moving on, though. I think we're all on the same page here. O'Malley probably does get it done. Moving on, Kai Kara France, Cody Garbrandt. I see a lot of very hot takes on either side here. The line has moved quite a bit. It was like France, like earlier in the week, it was like plus 155. Now it is closing quite a bit. So yeah, really curious to hear your guys' takes on this. We'll start with you, Easy. What do you like over this fight here?
Yeah, I kind of like the Cody Garbrandt money line here at minus 28 on Bet Online. I was saying way earlier in the week, that I understood all the money coming in on Kai Kara France. There's a lot of reasons to like him here. He's actually more experienced. He's been fighting at this weight class naturally for a very long time. He's a great minute winner on the feet as well. Throws great volume, lands a lot more than he absorbs. He's good defensively. But Garbrandt has been fighting the much tougher competition. And what I was saying was, if he winds up looking good on the scales, I kind of feel like the level of competition difference, the power difference, the fact that Cody, is really good at kind of deciding where the fight takes place. So if Kai doesn't like how it's going on the feet, I don't really think he's taken down Cody here. Cody being the much bigger dude, being the former bantamweight as well. So when the weight cut looked good, I kind of feel like minus 128 on Cody's the way to go here.
Yep, I am picking Cody as well. Did not get there from a betting perspective. But yeah, that line is getting intriguing, right? I kind of went with the fight doesn't go to decision, minus 150. I think there's a good chance that somebody gets finished here. Both guys have questionable chins. Kai Kara France, I believe, has been dropped 3 or 4 times in the UFC. And Cody Garbrandt's been, knocked out 3 times in his career. I think these guys are just going to stand and bang. Both guys have really solid power. Give me the fight doesn't go up minus 150 here, but yeah, I think Cody's money line is definitely getting very intriguing here at this point, minus 130, minus 122. Narco, what are your thoughts for this fight here?
So for me, I like 2 bets. I like Cody here a lot. I think it's a buy low spot on Cody. He looked very, very impressive on the scales. Weight cut was no problem. Like I said, he looked really, really good. The much bigger guy here, man. And Cody has hands. Cody has a lot of power. Kai Kara France is extremely tough too. So I'm not going to take that away from him. But I think he's going to be, Cody Garbrandt's going to be the much longer guy, the much bigger guy here. And you're getting, minus 128, 127 range. And I also like fight goes to decision because I think both guys are extremely durable, extremely tough. I know Cody Garbrandt's been knocked out, 3 or 4 times, but come on, let's face it. He's facing TJ Dillashaw, Pedro Munoz. Those guys hit a lot harder than what Kai Kara-France is going to give him. So, plus 130 range. I really like this fight going to decision.
It looks like we're on separate sides here, but I know not much strong conference on my end there, buddy. I think Cody money line is getting intrigued. I'm curious to see where the line does go by fight time there. But we'll keep moving on. We have 3 fights left. We have Jeff Neal going against Santiago Ponzinio. Lots of narrative going around with this fight with Jeff Neal hanging out with Keith Peterson, drinking a couple of beers there. But this is a spot where I went to bet Ponzinio like everyone else. And I looked into the fight and I was like, wow, if, Jeff Neal did not get caught with the DUI, if I've never heard this, I would be on Jeff Neal here. I went back and watched the Ponzinio fight with the Leech, and he came out and he got starched in that fight. He wasn't looking great, for any of that fight. He was getting beat clearly up until he got knocked out. And that was not a good look. And then he comes back against Baeza, and Baeza was hurting him bad in the first round. He wobbled in the first round. Baeza slowed down as the fight went on, but I noticed that Ponzinio gets hit, and he gets hit a lot, absorbs over like 4 significant strikes per minute, and you do not want to be hittable against Jeff Neal. So, the line has been all over the place. It looked like Ponzinio was gaining a lot of steam. I saw him at like minus 130. It is now back down to almost a pick 'em here. So I'm going to give Jeff Neal money line minus 105, and then also Jeff Neal by KO is sitting at plus 180. I think Jeff Neal knocks out Ponzinio here and proves a lot of people wrong. Weezy, how about you? What are you liking for this fight?
So if you guys are the type of bettors that like to fade recency bias, I believe this is a great spot to bet Jeff Neal. Just 2 fights ago, we had Ponzinio coming off almost, I believe, a 3-year layoff, serious health issues, and then he gets knocked out in the first round by Li Jingliang. So, that was just 2 fights ago, and then he beats Baeza. So now he comes into the Jeff Neal fight, at a pick'em price. But we have to look at Neal's last 2 performances against top 5 guys like Magny and Wonderboy. And, prior to that, this guy was knocking people down on 3% of the significant strikes that he's landing. He's got a ton of power in that left hand of his. And he's a really, really good boxer with really, really good takedown defense. And guess what? Santiago Ponzinio is not really that technical. That dude marches forward and he uses pressure, pace, and volume as his weapons. He might walk right into a left hook here and drop like he did in the Jingliang fight. So, but the problem is that there are these narrative issues. Neal spending Thanksgiving with the Petersons, just like Brady said, very, very concerning. Getting a DUI while he's training for a fight against a guy like Santiago Ponzinio, who's a UFC legend. The guy's got a ton of wins. He's been a welterweight mainstay for a long time now. But I really think if you're like the type of person that says recency bias be damned, I want to take the value. The value's got to be on Jeff Neal here, as long as his mind is in the right place here, which is something that we don't know as bettors. But if his mind is in the right place, I think he's going to knock him out.
Yeah, and I wanted to see the weigh-ins as well to see how Neal was looking. He looked pretty good to me. Narco, what side are you on for this fight, and what are you liking?
So I'm on the opposite side. I don't like him a lot. I won't say. I think this is a close fight. I think the line is about right here at minus 110, and it's basically a pick 'em right now. But I do like the volume of Ponzinio. I do like the leg kicks to work here for Ponzinio. And I also think, I kind of discount like that first loss against Li Jingliang. He was out for so long. He was sick, all this other stuff going on, health issues. I think he's kind of getting back in the groove. Even you see it in that Baeza fight, right? Early on, he didn't look right. And then as the fight went on, he looked better and better, and he looked really good in that 3rd round. So for me, I think he's starting to get that ring rust off. I think Ponzinio pre-sickness was a top 10, top 5 guy, right? We're talking about a guy that knocked out Neal Magny in the 4th round. That, Neal Magny is known to be extremely durable, extremely tough, and he's got some really good wins under his belt. So, now, the guy is, like I said, he was out for a while. He's getting that ring rust off, and I think he's the better like overall fighter. Jeff Neal has a lot of power. I'll give him that. But as far as overall striking with the leg kicking game, he's the better striker here. So give me Ponzinio at -110. I think there's slight value there.
Yeah, I mean, if Neal does not knock him out, if it goes to decision, I could definitely see Ponzinio winning. Looks like the line just changed a little bit. Looks like Jeff Neal's now plus 104 on Bet Online and Ponzi minus 124. So yeah, weird line movement all week. I can't wait to see where it does close at fight time. But we have 2 fights left, the co-main and the main event. Co-main event, Amanda Nunes, Juliana Pena. And it was really hard for me to find a spot that I liked on this fight for best bet. So I'm going to let you guys take it first. We'll start with you, Wheezy. What spot do you like for this fight?
I'll keep it short and simple. Just use Nunes as a parlay piece. I don't see how Pena wins this fight short of a miracle, short of a death gas from Nunes. So yeah, just use Nunes as a parlay piece. Don't try to guess inside the distance or decision or rounds or submission or knockout. Just use her as a parlay piece.
For me, yeah, I went with the Nunes by submission. It is sitting at plus 420. I mean, she's a minus 1,000 favorite. She's a black belt in BJJ. Juliana Pena, she's never been knocked out. I think all of her losses inside the distance came by submission. So I'll say she catches Pena in a submission. If GDR can do it, I think Amanda Nunes has a good chance of doing it as well. Plus 420, I think it's pretty intriguing there. Narco, how about you? What do you like for this fight?
Right there with you, man. What is Juliana Pena going to do here, right? Is she going to stand with Nunes here? I doubt it. She's going to try to fucking grapple and try to take it to the ground. And that's going to give Nunes every opportunity to get that submission. So, you're turning a minus 1,000, 1,100 to plus 420. I mean, you can't play that knockout line at minus 200, 165. I mean, why not just, try to poke with the submission line? Because I just think she is the better grappler here too. Like if she wants to honestly go for submissions, she probably can get it. So she's going to be the stronger girl. And if this fight hits the ground, sub is very live for me. So plus 420, I think is not bad at all.
Yeah, I think that was the one thing that did stick out to me the most. But one more fight. Looks like the card starts in about 7 minutes, so we're doing really good on time here. The main event, Charles Oliveira, Dustin Poirier, one of the best fights of the year. Cannot wait for this one. We'll start with you, Narco. What are you looking at this one for a best bet?
Yeah, I like Du Bronx here. Initially, I thought I was going to bet Poirier, but then digging deeper in tape, man, Poirier gets taken down too much. I mean, Dan Hooker took him down 5 times. If Dan Hooker took him down 5 times, I'm pretty sure Oliveira can take him down. And, even though Poirier is really good on the ground, we're talking about levels. We always talk about levels, and Oliveira's at a different level on the ground, man. He's never faced anybody that's this good on the ground. And I'm not even take away, how Oliveira's looked on the feet, man. The guy is really powerful on the feet too. He mixes it up really well now. And the one last thing I will say is, because I was always doubting Oliveira's heart, he showed all of that in this last fight, right? He got hurt really bad against Chandler, came back and won the fight. He showed heart there. The line is sitting at plus 116. I have a bet on him at plus 138. But the other thing I do want to mention is if you have access to FanDuel, there is a line out there that I really like on Dustin Poirier. It's round 4-5 in decision, and it's at plus 300. Because I think if this fight extends, it's going to be all Poirier late. So plus 300 is a pretty good line to get on Poirier at 4-5 decision.
Yep, I think you brought up 2 solid spots here. This line movement is interesting. I remember doing the main event deep dive with Uncle Weezy, and the line was sitting at plus 155 around there, plus one. I think it was plus 150 when me and Weezy did that show there. And I was like, yeah, I think Oliveira's, probably the value side. I think a bet's intriguing here. Ended up passing. He's now minus 107. So tons of line movement. Uncle Weezy, what are you liking for this main event here?
Dude, I was just doing all my trading talk earlier about liquidity and when liquidity is at its most and when it's at its least. Well, here we are with a title fight, a title fight right now. And we've had lines on this available and people betting both sides now for the last 3 weeks. And we see Dustin Poirier in the last few minutes go from minus 167 to minus 136 on the aggregate. Do you have any idea how many millions of dollars had to have come in on Charles Oliveira here in the last half hour while we've been talking. I was going to say I like Poirier here, but that kind of line movement means that somebody has millions of dollars and they're putting it on Oliveira. And most people who have millions of dollars don't invest it unless they have some really good information to back up why they're making that decision. I am not touching this fight. I know no passing. I would have said the Dustin Poirier money line a half an hour ago, but this line movement is crazy.
So you're passing.
Well, okay, no, I can't pass. Shit.
No.
You know what? Let's do this. Let's do Oliveira inside the distance then. Oliveira inside the distance is plus 180. Plus 180 on Bet Online would be the best line I could get. I think that's what I would bet. This is terrifying, this line movement. I have no idea what it means, but it's I'm telling you guys, it has to be millions of dollars.
Yeah, the line movement is crazy. At plus 107. I wonder if this line is going to get any closer. Appreciate the super sticker to Gus. Thank you for the 199 there. Type saying shave your ass. My goodness. All right. Yeah, for me, this is going to be chalky, but I really like this play. It's one of my bigger plays of the night. It's going to be the fight won't start round 5 at minus 260 on Bet Online. It's minus 300 on DraftKings, minus 340 on FanDuel here. I just see this fight finishing one way or another. I think it's going to be Charles early or Dustin. I think it could be early as well, but more so late in the fight. I really would be surprised if this fight did get extended that much. Like even like the under like 3.5 rounds, minus 200 is intriguing, minus 220 is intriguing to me. Minus under 4.5 rounds, minus 290. I think this fight's going to finish one way or another. As far as picking a winner, I did pick Charles Oliveira too, but I'm not running to the window to bet the plus 107. So give me violence here. I like both guys, rooting for both guys, but I'm mostly rooting for a finish here. Give me the fight won't start round 5. So we did it, guys. We'll start with you, Weezy. Where can everybody find you, and what do you have going on throughout the week, typically on an MMA week?
Check me out on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. I do balls deep breakdowns of fights, usually every Tuesday night at 10 o'clock Central Time. I do a full card breakdown called Just the Tip. I am on Pub Sports Radio twice a week, doing Stat Diggers on Sunday nights, 5:15 Central Time, and the DraftKings DFS show, 6 o'clock Central Time on Tuesdays. And I'm going to be doing the Die Hard MMA podcast with Clint on Monday. And I'll see you tomorrow for Stat Diggers, Brady.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, Hank Hill, for the 199. Just got here. Cachoeira KO plus 800 to start the card. We are all over that. Hank Hill, shout out to you. Narco, where can they find you? What do you have going on throughout the week?
Yeah, Narco Cop on Twitter, and I got my YouTube channel, Narco Cop MMA. I do the Lambo Place podcast on Friday. That's about it. Thank you to everybody in chat for being here, and thank you to Brady and Uncle Weezy.
For sure. Thank you, Weezy and Narco, for coming on. As always, thank you, everybody in the chat, for hanging out. Had a decent amount of people here. The card starts in about 30 seconds, so we're going to head out. Leave a like on your way out. Subscribe to the channel. You can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers. Instagram is DFS by the numbers. Let's make some money. Enjoy the fights, and cannot wait for the very first fight of the night coming up here. Priscilla Cachapp cheating, going against Jillian Robertson. Let's see if that advantage helps her here. See you guys. Best of luck. Let's make some money.